they use pure force through the military means. And number two, they use the numbers for the accounting, like the money part. They to not only swindle land, basically it was swindle. It started on the East Coast and worked its way west up here. And now, after seeing it's terrorism by numbers, for one, terrorism by numbers, right? And number two is terrorism by ecological means, where they're poisoning the rivers, poisoning the land. In other words, they're poisoning the fish and the game. That's which basically keeps the people alive for the last 10, 20,000 years. And for the government and the corporations to collude together like that, and not even have any regard whatsoever for the native people and the children coming down the road, the Brits are going to leave them a mess to clean up behind, and I don't think they're going to like that. They're you can hear it in their songs now. You can hear it in the lyrics of their so-called rock and roll music. You can hear it in their you can see it in their actions. You can see the whole thing, the whole social structure sort of like gradually crumbling. And it was part of the overall plan of the government for this to happen. And once a person sees that, I think they're going to realize that it was a big scam.
So Bernie, what do you think of civil liberties? Do you think that civil liberties are being upheld in the Yukon?
And the Yukon civil liberties are not even regarded at all. It's more or less the ends justify the means. In other words, total control. And the advantage is the highest law in the whole country. I mean, the whole territory and the whole country. Basically, they legislate their own advantage and exclude anything that might even come close to social justice.
And Jean, yesterday you were speaking about the whole premise of title to land. So there's all the fracking that's being proposed and all this development and all this mining of the peel. And do you think that legally that this can actually move forward?
Not if we stand up and speak for our individual legal rights in this law book. First Nation peoples have to stand up and step out of the bush and into the white man's business world. And all non-native immigrants have to stand up also with us as business partners, an equal share of every resource that is used and produced for profits.
And what book are you taking that from? Jean, can you show it the camera?
Right here, Martin's Criminal Code. My traditional territorial property has been stolen.
And so you think the land claims has been beneficial to Yukon First Nations or not?
It's not beneficial for anyone, any Yukoner living in the Yukon. That goes for every man, woman, and child of all the four races that live here.
Another thing I'd like to comment is on our leaders, so-called leaders, is that they're very timid and very cowardly. They have not stand up for it whatsoever for our people. For one, we comprise 25% of the Yukon Territory population, and yet this voting bloc, which could be very influential in future elections, is not utilized for one, and our so-called leaders, I don't know about those suckers, man. They worry more about the bottom line of their pockets rather than the sparkle of the water and the song of the birds and the future generations, for sure.
And would a referendum, do you think, actually turn this around, Jean? You spoke about that yesterday.
Yukon-wide referendum to every man, woman, and child, even a baby? Yes, it would. Because we, as inhabitants of this country, in this law book, We have legal jurisdiction to close our borders now and stop the stealing of our lands and resources by a handful of criminals for profiteering. That's... Go ahead, say something.
Yeah, ever since the Brits came to this country, it's been British law, which still goes today, and Native people, we don't have no queen, no king, and none of this monarchy shit. You know, it's the Brits. Basically, it's foreigners. Right now, the population of Canada is 97% foreigners, 3% native coast to coast. And in the Yukon here, we have a bigger proportion, which is 25%, like I said earlier. But and if we're to follow the British system of thinking, then all the laws that were made in the past 500 years still hold today. And in those laws in the future, in the past, states that permission to take anything, resources, water, minerals, anything, you have to secure the permission of Native people first. That's in the law of the Secretary of State, which later became Department of Indian Affairs. And the gradual scamming of the land, if I could put it that way, has been done through money parts where they could actually say so much money is going to be allotted to the Native people, and they can reduce that number, thereby, in forcing the hand, because in the new system that they're working on, they're going to starve, basically. Because by the time the buffalo and the fish are gone, I'm telling you, like the old chief said from years ago, you can't eat money.